It's a universal problem, but only this time it is happening in China. Beijing's air quality draws massive media attention, as if pollution never existed in other countries. Hello and welcome to Voice and Votes 2013, covering the latest from China's annual political meetings. I'm Andrew Xing here in Beijing. Also in this program,
surprising that that China was picked out, but if you like, China has in some ways a public relations problem.
We talked to Brian Salter, China Daily columnist, for his views on China's air quality problem. It seems that China could be easily condemned for any reason. There has been open and frank discussions on China's social networking sites about the recent smog, calling for more effective measures to put an end to the seasonal air problem. The determination of Beijing's government is clear, but it still takes time to translate words into actions. Our correspondent Sun Tianyuan has this story.
During the past several months, PM 2.5 pollution has become a hot topic of discussion among the public and become front and center on the internet and even at the NPC and CPPCC 2013 annual sessions. The issue was pushed to the forefront of public and official concern most recently in the winter of 2012, when polluted days became more frequent and PM 2.5 levels were off the charts. The official PM 2.5 index figures are conveniently available for people interested or concerned. However, not every day is a foggy day. A day like this is also quite normal in Beijing. On clear days when the index presents low figures, the city comes alive and appears incredibly vibrant and beautiful. People attribute the high levels of PM 2.5 particles to coal-burning power plants, heating stations, and vehicle emissions. Beijing has 5.2 million vehicles, and the number is still growing at a rate of 200,000 cars every year. The government has already implemented driving and buying restrictions to slow down the growing number of people purchasing cars. At a press conference during China's major political sessions, spokeswoman Fu Ying said China's top legislature will respond positively to public concerns on environmental issues. Officials will draw up specific plans to control major pollutant and vehicle emissions.
That's my colleague Sun Tianyuan reporting from Beijing. Now let's talk to our China Daily columnist Brian Salter for his views on China's air quality problem. Stay with us. Brian, thanks very much indeed for joining me in this program. Well, you certainly don't look like your age, but I can definitely tell that you experienced a big smog in 1952 in London, right?
Well, it wasn't just 1952. People often talk about the 1952 smog, but you have to remember that smogs went back many hundreds of years, but they came to a front, if you like, in 1952, although they continued for many, many years afterwards. And I was only 2 years old in 1952, so I don't really remember it, but I certainly remember the smog of 1958 and a big one in 1962, and sometimes they were really bad. I mean, I remember once walking home from school, and literally we had to hold our way, feel our way along the walls, because you could hardly see where you were going. You couldn't see the ground. It was difficult to see your hand in front of your face. And a journey which maybe normally took 10 minutes could take an hour and a half to get home.
How many people actually died from that?
In the 52 smog, there were about 4,000 people died. That was the worst case altogether. That was directly attributable to that, but of course there were many people who may have had other complications as well.
So what did the government do in tackling such a life-threatening issue back in 1952?
Well, the government responded by bringing in Clean Air Acts. There was the Clean Air Act of 1952, a follow-up act in 1968, and then a follow-up to that, which was in 1993, which combined the two previous ones and also added new things. And what it basically did was to ban smoky fuels from people's hearths, because you have to remember one of the main reasons of the smog was that people only a very short while after the war were burning wood, coal and things in open hearths in their living rooms, and that when you had a smog, when you had a fog in London, the smoke couldn't escape because it was trapped by the fog, therefore making smoky fog or smog. And so they banned smoky fuels, and you could only burn smokeless fuels. They also brought in new regulations about the height of chimneys from factories. They had to be much higher so they could disperse the smoke better. And they brought in many other regulations as well. Well, that was the beginning. It made a huge difference to the air quality in London.
One big fact in Beijing's air pollution is that people say that it is because our petrol quality doesn't really meet the international standard. What do you think?
Well, there's many, many international standards on petrol quality, and I couldn't say that. What I would say, though, is that with the concentration of cars, especially in Beijing, sometimes, it's nose to tail all the way, with the concentration of cars, coupled with the fact that you often get inversion layers, a kind of natural fog, so that the car fumes can't escape, that's what causes the problem. Now, people talk about the PM 2.5 issue in Beijing, and that is, again, because the pollutants can't escape, and therefore it builds up and gets to dangerous levels. But you have to remember that it's not actually Beijing only that suffers this. People often talk about Beijing, but there's other parts of the world which are just as bad. Think about Los Angeles. If you've ever been to Los Angeles, you can look out of your hotel bedroom window and you see a yellow line across the horizon. It's quite disgusting. Even London, which had the bad smogs of the 1950s and 60s, that also has a very bad problem. You can't see it. The air quality looks okay, but in fact, when you measure it, it's very bad indeed. And they say that London doesn't meet the standards from European standards and won't do for at least another maybe 15 years.
Well, actually, what you've just said is a reminder of what has been happening recently, that China seems to have been picked out for special attentions when it comes to air pollution. Do you think it's fair?
Beijing responded by making some very positive efforts to clean up the air for the Olympics. If you remember, they cut down the amount of traffic allowed on the roads, especially locally around the Olympic Stadium. They did various other measures as well, but the effect was that the air quality was hugely improved for the Olympics. Okay, the same issue wasn't so bad for other Olympics. Think of the London Olympics recently, because you didn't have that same kind of localized pollution that you had with Beijing. But there's still been a bad problem. People remember that, therefore. Beijing has a bad PR problem in that sense, but it doesn't mean they're any worse than anybody else. As I say, you go to Los Angeles, it is just a yellow band across the sky. That's disgusting. You don't see that in Beijing. People often talk about bad air quality in Beijing, but frankly, it's no worse than many other places.
Well, thank you, Brian. Thanks for sharing with us today.
Pleasure.
Well, let's take a quick look at the poll result from yesterday's topic. Poll result is actually kindly provided by China Daily Mobile News. As for our previous topic, we only conducted survey on our mobile phone platform. The last topic was Liu Li, a political advisor with the NPC, suggested reducing urban housing application standards on Sunday. This would perhaps be a solution to bring together long-time separated migrant families, thus reducing the divorce rate among them and saving endangered marriages. We have received 2,321 feedbacks from our audience, and 38% of the votes support the idea, 34% of them against it, and we have another 28% stay neutral. Here is a good response from one of our audience, actually it's from Tianjin. He said, due to earning a low income, most migrant workers won't consider buying an apartment in the city temporarily. The urgent issue here is to deal with the poor accommodations on construction sites, because many migrant workers, both men and women, are currently living in one room. All right, let's take a quick look at today's topic. Yuan Chunming, a member of the CPPCC National Committee, suggested that invoices for purchases of liquor and tobacco products should carry special marks, and those invoices should not be reimbursed by government agencies and institutions using public money. What do you think? China Mobile users can text your response to 1065 8000 7835. Smartphone users can also comment on our respective iPhone and Android applications. Until then, bye-bye.